The purpose of this video is not to offend anybody. The purpose of this video is merely to raise the awareness of the truth of this world. We stand for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. The greatest of all gifts is love. The second thing that you hear is truth. Truth is important. A lot of our people do not comprehend why our government is the de jure government. The reason why is because they don't know the truth. Now, the old world was much different than the world that we know today. The indigenous people of all these land masses, to be honest with you, to be truthful with you, all of these people today would be called black people. Now, that may come as a surprise to many of you because the populations today on these continents do not reflect those of the old world. So, with that being said, it's important for you to understand that as you begin to study history and you begin to learn history that has been preserved through the trustees, we can call them, the Europeans, what you will find is no matter what continent that you find so-called black people living in the bush on, they always consider these individuals and these communities to be Africans. It doesn't matter if you go to Thailand and you look at the people looking in the bush and these people are coarse-haired, melanated people, they call them Africans, even though they were there before the Thai people that we know today as being the Thais. Same thing if you go to India. If you look at India, you see a lot of these people who live on the coast of South India that have been pushed to the coast and are relatively small in numbers now because of this colonization process. And the key word is colonization. They consider these people who are the indigenous Indians to be African rather than to be the de jure Indians. Now, this is interesting when you begin to look at all the different names, the different terms that have been used to describe the so-called Moorish American. The different terms to not only confuse you as far as your history, but ultimately to usurp you of your birthright. And to give that to somebody else. This is happening right now to other melanated people on different continents. So, let's hop in the video. Let me make this clear as well before we start the video. Who we're going to be listening to is Malcolm X. Malcolm X is one of our leaders from a previous era. Our leader in this era is our president, President Christopher Cannon Bay.
This is why I'm getting treated the way I'm getting treated. Until I repatriate. I gotta repatriate, not expatriate, not naturalize, none of that garbage. I gotta repatriate back to my people, which is my state. I gotta repatriate back to my state.
This is the man who Allah has used to set up the state. So, what we're going to be learning about today is how Malcolm X felt about history. Today, there are many historical scholars on YouTube. There's many people who know the things that I'm going to be showing you through images and his speech. What is superior to history today is law. Because just knowing who you are doesn't do anything. Just knowing who you are does not free you from the situation that we are all in. The hidden bondage, the invisible chains and shackles around our throats and around our children's arms and legs. They play football, but they still wear these invisible shackles. They do all these moves, but still have the invisible shackles on when they lay that three. All right? So, law is what frees us from this. And we as the indigenous people have laws set in place that protect us now. So, this is when you go to this website right here. Now we'll hop into the video.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that of all the things the black man can study, or any man can study for that matter, history is best qualified to reward all research. You have to have a knowledge of history no matter what you're going to do. Anything that you undertake, you have to have a knowledge of history in order to be successful in it. The thing that has made the so-called Negro in America fail more so than any other thing is your and my lack of knowledge concerning history. We know less about history than anything else. There are black people in America who have mastered the mathematical sciences, have become professors and experts in physics, are able to toss Sputniks out there in the atmosphere, out in space. They're masters in that field. We have black men who have mastered the field of medicine. We have black men who have mastered other fields. But very seldom do we have black men in America who have mastered the knowledge of history of the black man himself. They are experts. We have among our people those who are experts in every field. But seldom can you find one from among us who is an expert on the history of the black man. And because of his lack of knowledge concerning the history of the black man, no matter how much he excels in these other sciences, he's always confined. He's always relegated to the same low rung of the ladder that the dumbest of our people are relegated to. And all of this stems from his lack of knowledge concerning history. What made Dr. George Washington Carver a Negro scientist instead of a scientist? What made Paul Robeson a Negro actor instead of an actor? What made Ralph Bunche, or makes Ralph Bunche, a Negro statesman instead of a statesman? The only difference between Bunche and Carver and these others whom I just mentioned, they don't know the history of the black man. Bunche is an expert, an international politician, a politician on the international level, but Bunche doesn't know himself. He has no knowledge of the history of his own people. He can be sent all over the world by America to solve problems for America, or to solve problems for other nations, but he can't solve problems for his own people in this country. Why? What is it that ties our people up in this way? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says it boils down to just one word: history. When you study the history of Bunche, his history is different from the history of the black man who just comes here from Africa. And if you notice, Bunche was in Atlanta, Georgia during the summer NAACP convention. He was Jim Crowed. He was segregated. He was not allowed to go in a hotel down there. Yet there are Africans who can come here black as night and go in some of these cracker hotels. Well, what is the difference between Bunche and one of them? The difference is Bunche doesn't know his history, and they, the Africans, do know their history. They may come here out of the jungles, but they know their history. They may come here wearing sheets with their head all wrapped up, but they know their history. You and I can come out of Harvard, but we don't know our history. And the basic difference in why we are treated as we are, one knows his history and one doesn't know his history. The American Negro doesn't know his history. The American so-called Negro is a soldier who doesn't know his history. He's a servant in America who doesn't know his history. He's a graduate from Harvard or Columbia or Yale or Howard or Tuskegee who doesn't know his history. And because he doesn't know his history, he's confined. He's limited. He's held under the control and the jurisdiction of the white man who knows more about the history of the Negro than the Negro knows about himself. But when you and I wake up, as we're taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and learn our history, learn the history of our kind as well as the history of the white kind, then then the white man is at a disadvantage and we're at an advantage. The only thing that puts you and me at a disadvantage is our lack of knowledge concerning history.